That might be my version of what Mongolian throat singing is, which is a genre of music, of course. So I guess I want to talk a bit about music today. Music that might be a little bit on the underrated side. I don't know, some of these you've probably heard of. I can think of at least one that most of you have probably heard of. But even though they are maybe well known, perhaps they don't have as much recognition as they deserve. So I'm gonna kind of go through these. I'll start with probably my favorite of these, which is an album by this group called The Pierces. I believe it's a duo. It's called 13 Tales of Love and Revenge.
Where would you go and what would you do if it wasn't me, it was you. If it wasn't me, it was you.
I have been kind of obsessed with this album lately. This has become like one of my favorite albums recently, and I just discovered this randomly because I was on Spotify and I was just typing in something random on Spotify. I was feeling edgy that day, so I typed in the words kill, kill, kill. And then there's a song conveniently called Kill, 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 and it was by this band on this album, and I listened to it and I was like, huh! You know, that's actually quite interesting.
It's a mystery to me, I keep on slipping in my mind.
It has this interesting sort of European quality to it that's difficult to describe. I don't know what that sound is, but I've been kind of chasing it in everything else I've been listening to lately. You hear it in Tom Waits' music a lot. You also hear a little bit of it in Al Stewart, although his stuff is a little bit more Spanish influenced. The most popular track on this album is called Secret, with the lyrics, two can keep a secret if one of them is dead. It's a waltz track. It's actually the worst track on the album, which is saying something actually, because it's still not bad. It's actually pretty good. But it is the most popular one, and it's because it was featured on a show called Pretty Little Liars, which was on when I was in middle school. I heard people talking about it. I always thought it sounded like a terrible name for a show. I was turned off immediately when I heard the name of the show. I've never wanted to watch it. But yeah, I guess this song was on that show. But like I said, I think it's the worst song on the album because there's so many good songs on here. We have track 2 is called Boring.
Sexy boy, girl on girl, ménage à trois, boring, marijuana, cocaine, heroin, boring.
I just love this one because it's like talking about how everything is boring, which is so true. All these sort of decadent pleasures in life lose their meaning, and then you're left wondering, why did I even want this in the first place?
Nothing thrills us anymore. No one kills us anymore. Life is such a chore when it's boring.
Sticks and Stones, that one has a pretty good hook.
Hey, domino, I'm stopping you from falling. 1, 2, 3, don't you dare go down. Hey, waterfall, oh, can you hear me calling? 3, 2, 1, don't you dare touch the ground.
Lights On, I think, is my favorite song on the album, and I love this one because it has this gender-bending theme.
Make love with the lights on, baby. Tell me what you see. Clear the bed to lie on, darling. Make a mess of me. Here's my dress to try on, baby. Let me be your man.
It's really fun in that way. And it gets to kind of this attitude that pervades this whole album, which is this sort of confident female sexuality, this sort of vengeful seductress persona. It pervades all of the tracks to some degree or another, and I find it's such a fascinating sort of lens for this work, and it matches with the music, I think, very well. And then you have Boy in a Rock and Roll Band toward the end, which is like that da 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 da.
I can't tell you how to live your life, but I know how to live mine. I take home pretty things that I like, and baby, you are so fine.
And I just love the variety. I love the variety of different styles on this album, but they all just kind of go together somehow. They all have this vintage vibe that's very difficult to really explain. But then there's also really like sweet, slow songs on here, which are also really good, like Go to Heaven.
You are absurd. You say the cutest things I've ever heard. I don't think I can take another word.
Really beautiful sound on that. And then The Power Of is another great one. Oh, Three Wishes, what a great hook on that one.
You want 3 wishes, one to fly the heavens, one to swim like fishes, and then one you saving for a rainy day. If your love ever takes your love away.
And then there's of course Turn On Billy. Don't be silly, turn on Billy. She's singing us to sleep so we can dream our lives away. And if we wake up with full makeup, we'll paint the town blue, cause baby red is so passé. Great lyrics and just really, really catchy hooks. That's one of the things I really love about this album, is that the songs get just stuck in my head all the time. And I love just the vengefulness of these lyrics. Like there's this song called Ruin, where she goes, I do not want for you to be happy. All that I want is for you to come crawling back. It's just delightful. There's a sort of humor in these lyrics. It very much reminds me of what Taylor Swift did on Blank Space, but maybe a little bit more subtle than that. But yeah, if you haven't heard the Pierces' 13 Tales of Love and Revenge, definitely check it out. It's an incredible album. Like I said, I just discovered it totally by random, and I love when that happens, just totally randomly finding something that I love. The next one I want to talk about is The Darkness. Now, most of you probably know who they are. They did I Believe in a Thing Called Love.
I wanna kiss you every minute, every hour, every day.
But the reason I'm bringing them up is not necessarily because they're not popular, because they are, but it's because they're weird. They're in a weird position. Like, think about that band Greta Van Fleet and how they got really, really famous for basically doing music that sounded like Led Zeppelin and Rush. They got really famous for sort of capitalizing on this nostalgia for a kind of music that they were into that wasn't really in the mainstream anymore, and they kind of brought it back into the mainstream in their way. I feel like The Darkness was kind of doing the same thing, except they were just too early. Because their music sounds like, I don't know, something between Van Halen and Queen. It's not really hair metal. It's not like hard enough to be hair metal, but it's sort of like pop on the way to hair metal. I don't know what you call that specific section of sort of 70s, 80s rock and roll. What's just so striking about them is that when you listen to those first two albums by The Darkness, Permission to Land and One Way Ticket, almost all of the songs are extremely just catchy and iconic. Sound like they sound like songs that would have been smash hits if they came out in like 1978 to 1982. And I Believe in a Thing Called Love did become a smash hit in 2003. But you know, it's that weird awkward period. They were in the early 2000s when that kind of music just wasn't popular anymore, but it hadn't been long enough for it to be retro, and so they were just like in the wrong time period. And that's kind of why I find them so fascinating, because like I said, I mean, these hooks are incredible, and the guy's voice is just so ridiculous. I don't know his name, but he has this ridiculously sort of I don't know, you could call it a very girly, kind of operatic sort of rock and roll singing. But yeah, Love on the Rocks with No Ice. They like doing that thing where they just contradict themselves. You have Love on the Rocks with No Ice. You have One Way Ticket to Hell and Back.
One-way ticket to hell and back. For a one-way ticket to hell.
I don't know why they found that so funny. I don't find it all that funny. But it just shows how little they took any of this seriously. It's a very kind of silly band, and it's almost like a parody of that kind of music. It's like they're removed enough from that period that they can recognize the silliness of that period, and so they're just having fun with it. But yeah, that first album, Permission to Land, is pretty good, but I think my favorite one is the second one, One Way Ticket to Hell and Back, because you got Is It Just Me or Am I All on My Own Again? Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da.
John and Gross, turn on town in Latin. On Tuesday.
And then you got Put Your Arms Around Me. It didn't lady on.
Couldn't figure out where you figure it goes. I thought that I could live without you, but I was so wrong. Put your arms around me. You didn't lay it on.
And you have Girl with the Hazel Eyes. I mean, these songs are just so catchy.
And she said, "There's a kind of bird taking who's your body's Scotland. The hazel eyes."
They just sound like hits, and I find it fascinating when you have songs that just sound like hits, but they weren't. But you're like, how is this not a hit? Because this is so good. Another example of that was Coal Man by the Bee Gees. I don't even think you can find that on Spotify because it was like a really early Bee Gees song, but it sounds like a hit.
I tell my troubles to the coal man. He's a coal man, but he understands. He's not such a very, very old man. He's a soul man, and he takes my hand.
And then there's this other album that I don't really know anything about, except that it's really good. And my dad showed it to me. It's called Natural Progressions.
How can you live without love? How can you live without love?
It's by one of the guys from the Eagles. And then I looked it up, and I guess the other guy, he did work with Johnny Rivers. What was striking to me about this album, Natural Progressions, is from 1977. It does not have a Wikipedia page, and on YouTube, there's like hardly any views on these songs. They average around like 10 to 30,000 views a piece. So clearly this is kind of an obscure album, but I think it's incredible for how obscure it is. And it's another one of these things where just all of these songs sound like hits to me. My favorite one is the first track, Callin' for Your Love.
I'm calling for your love.
it's just dripping with that 70s kind of, like, what do you call it? There's a little bit of hot chocolate in there. It's a vibe. Like, this album is a whole vibe. A vibe and a half, you could say. Probably the show-stopping song is Rotation.
Down goes the daily sun, taking daylight with it when it's gone. Longer shadows bend into the night. Wait for morning to regain the light.
At the end, there's this song called Glass Off, and it's just got this... this is such a great, just mellow, but... mellow with the tension in it. Glass off.
In the evening when the sun cools down, there's no one else around. It's a glass off.
It's this sort of soul acoustic classic rock fusion thing that's difficult to even describe what I'm listening to. I don't know where they came up with the idea for this album, but I'm glad that they did, because it's really cool. Then, here's a band you probably haven't heard of, unless you're a Drunken Peasants fan. It's a band called Sex Twister.
Tell me that you'll be my girl. Tell me that you'll be my world. Tell me that you'll be that slut in my dreams that I want you to be. Tell me that you'll suck my dick. Tell me that you'll lick, lick, lick. Tell me that you'll rock my cock like a whore and never stop. Never stop. Never stop.
Now, this is a band that never actually put out any albums, I don't think. I mean, if they did, then it would have been like a really limited release in the Ohio area they were in. They're as underground as you can get, and they're dead now. Like, there are members who are dead. I think they were around in like 2004, 2003, something like that. I don't know, there's not much information about them on the internet because very few people who know who they are. The only reason anyone really knows who they are anymore is because of the Drunken Peasants podcast, because one of the guys from that podcast was actually knew them when they were around. And okay, the thing about this band, it's like it's a punk band basically, and I'm not really all that familiar with punk music, so there might be like some context that I'm missing out on, but there's a lot of sort of acoustic guitar and muted, not distorted guitar in their work, and so it doesn't sound like typical punk music that's trying to be really, you know, trying to really hit hard. It's actually, it has a slightly more mellow sound, a slightly more sophisticated sound, but the lyrics are all ridiculous. They're just ridiculous sex lyrics.
Downtown, hobo on the ground, says he got a probe. No, I got my chode, but no, that's sick. If I want a dick, I can get a dick. And I like the metal cig with a little drip drip. Without the knob on the top and all the stickiness. And I know the satisfaction of a man, don't get me wrong. Bars the eyes and baby doesn't turn me on.
And some of these songs are crazy, like the hobo rap is just amazing, and it's like a song that sounds like nothing else I've ever heard before. It's this like punk rap song about hobos and them fucking each other with anal probes. I mean, it's like, I don't understand it at all.
Hobo, 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 anal, 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 probing, 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 hobo, anal, probing.
I really like the song Motherfucker. It has a really catchy chorus.
When I never play out the game with a chick, not doing two chains that bring me neither. It's fucking no pain. Because I just want me a motherfucker, yeah. Thinking I just want me a motherfucker, yeah.
They have a song that's called Sex Twister that's also really good. It's kind of low-key and it kind of builds. It's got this nice guitar solo in it.
Feels like I passed. Please make it fast. I cannot last.
I mean, isn't that just a cool vibe? I also, speaking of guitar solos, there's an incredible guitar solo at the end of a song called Man Rape. But the thing about this band is that the lyrics are utterly absurd, and they're just weird sex stuff. That's all their lyrics are, pretty much. But then what's funny is just that the music sounds so interesting and so unique, and I haven't heard anything that sounds like them. They totally had their own thing going. They had good catchy hooks and stuff. So if any band I think qualifies as being underrated, it's these guys, because they just, like, they never went anywhere at all.
Now just see what she started. Joey always said she was a little thick in the hips, and she'd get wasted and try to have some kiss, and she'd fuck, 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 and she'd fuck.
I'm not really someone who prides myself in, like, knowing a bunch of obscure music. I tend to stick to more popular stuff, but that's an example of one way. I definitely have some obscure music cred there. So those are for, what do you call it, underrated music recommendations. Tomorrow I will make a video about folk music specifically, because most of the sort of underrated, lesser known stuff I listen to is in the folk genre, but that could just take up a whole video. But anyway, this is VEDN Day 17. I'll see you tomorrow for VEDN Day 18.